again to another episode of Addiction Uncovered. I'm joined by Dave today, and I'm Jill, your host. Dave grew up in Papillion, and he studied criminal justice in Omaha first, and then moved to South Dakota and studied at a university there. And there he played baseball at a college level. And during that time, he developed an opioid addiction that lasted for the next 10 years. He was eventually able to get sober, and once his head was clear, he found his purpose in life, to become a drug and alcohol counselor and to help people who went through what he did. His thought was, if I can help just one person struggling with addiction, it'd be worth it. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's start off with what led to your addiction.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I think when I was born. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think there were a lot of red flags early on. Just high school years and after high school, just problems with drinking and just drank a whole lot from the age of about 15 to 22, more than I should have. And a lot of problems with the law. And I noticed each time I was drinking, I either woke up regretting something I did, or I woke up with some sort of contact from the law enforcement in some parts. Spent some time in jail, about 90 days from stuff I did when I was drinking. That was around the age of, I would say, 19 or 20. And I kind of at a young age figured out, okay, drinking's not the way to go for me. I'm really struggling, and I just don't care about anything else except for drinking and getting high with my friends. And, I just figured out really early on, around 22, that I just cannot drink. And so I stopped drinking. And, of course, that led to, some relationships with people not working out and stuff like that. After that, like you said, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and I thought criminal justice was the way to go. Didn't have the greatest grades in high school, obviously. Other things were on my mind. So, I got into a college here to get my grades up, and then I had an old scholarship from when I was 18, 19 up in South Dakota, and reached out to the coach, and he had me come still not try out, but put on a little clinic for him. And fortunately for me, he was still interested. So, I packed my stuff up and went up to South Dakota and continue with criminal justice and play baseball. Somewhere between that time, I was, it was only about 2 hours away. So I was running to Omaha a lot for, to get marijuana and stuff for the guys. And somewhere along that line, opiates came into play. Just, I think they were hydrocodones or something, and developed a little habit for them. We had long bus rides and, of course, injuries and just overall pain. I was a little older than most of the kids at that point, so I probably had some pain that the others didn't. That's my justification anyways. And I developed it. It wasn't a serious habit at that point. I just could get them when I get them, and it wasn't a big deal. I didn't need them all the time. Came back to Omaha in 2012, I want to say. 2012. Got hired on at a casino doing security and surveillance and that kind of stuff at a local casino across the river there. And from then on, I just started getting, I noticed I was getting pills a little bit more frequently, right? And then I broke my hand, and, it's pretty common with opiate addicts that I went to the doctor and kind of got as many scripts as I could get until they kind of cut me off. And, kind of developed a whole network of people that could get pills and stuff from about, 2012 on. And so from there I was off, just trying to get them as frequently as I can. I noticed when I didn't have them, my mood would be a little different. So the first 2 or 3 years into the casino era, I kind of switched. I jumped from job to job in the casino. At one point, I was food and beverage manager and buffet manager and stuff like that. It paid really well. I was making the most money I'd made in my life, and thought I was living good. But the pill use was starting to grow and grow, I noticed. And The thing is with the casino, it just sucks the life out of you, 50 to 60 hours a week. And so I was getting off at sometimes 2 and 3 in the morning, and didn't really, didn't have a lot of time for family or friends or really anything. So I came home, and my best friend was the opiates and or pills or whatever I could get. So, that started to grow more and more. One day started noticing that I was sick on Monday, felt fine Tuesday, sick again on Wednesday, and it kind of clicked, right? Like, I had pills on Tuesday. I didn't have them Monday and Wednesday. Well, so that's when it kind of went off of my brain. Obviously I knew these things were very addictive to begin with, but just never had that type of serious mentality, I guess, that I would get into that situation.
So it's kind of withdrawal symptoms, it sounds like, right?
Heavy, just throwing up every couple hours, hot and cold sweats. I'm wearing a full suit, so, I'm just sweating all the time and just miserable. About 2012 to about 2017, I worked in the casino. So 2015 to 17, I was just miserable with the job itself. Pill use is steadily growing. So I found like a quality assurance job here at a local HVAC company, about half the pay, but it was regular hours, and I could spend more time with my family and my wife, and she wasn't my wife at the time, but girlfriend. And so I thought I'd found a better solution job wise, and the pill use just really ramped up. I needed them every day at that point. So it was just battling that every day. And I like to say it wasn't almost the hardest part of it wasn't even really the addiction, but just the game of finding it. And I tell people this in the clinic too all the time. You alcoholics have a heavy road ahead of you, because I can only imagine if Oxycontin was available at every gas station and advertised everywhere. And so it just it became a game. When I couldn't find them, I'd reach out to anybody I could, or I'd find some way to get them. But those last years in the casino were really rough, and leading into that HVAC job, it was really starting to get really bad. Just find myself in horrible situations. One time I had gotten pulled over after I just got a batch of pills. Obviously, in that situation, I don't want to get caught with a felony or anything like that. So, I had to take them all, which was at that time probably 10 times. When I took them all, it was probably 10 times the amount that I'm used to taking in one sitting. And I thought I'd probably be in some serious trouble. So after I didn't get, obviously didn't get caught by the police or anything. I think they wrote me a ticket it was something I didn't pay, or a license. I didn't have my registration or something. So I got that ticket, hurried home, because I thought I'd be in a world of hurt. And I really wasn't. And that's what was really kind of my first wake up call is, oh man, I'm really high, but I'm not overdosing. I'm not, so at that point I really tested my tolerance and could see, there's a major issue here. So I'd say about 2018 to 2019, I was getting married. So there was that also, a big stress, thing hanging over my head. And so it was starting to, wake me up a little bit that I needed help. At this point, I got introduced to Suboxone on the street, of course. Didn't think anything of it. Some guy one time says, I don't have this, but I have these. And he said, they'll make you feel better. And at this point in 2018, 19, it was about not being sick for me at that point. It was about not laying in bed with flu-like symptoms, having to make up another thing to my family or my wife or to work, missing a lot of work. And so I took that Suboxone that he gave me and noticed that it did make me feel a whole lot better, and started to kind of research it a little bit and notice, this is a drug that's gotten a lot of people off of opiates. Still didn't really know where to reach out to begin. There's this stigma and shame about it. Even with professionals, I didn't want to admit to it. I don't think I'd fully admitted to myself yet what a problem there was. But off subject here a little bit, just to show how bad the problem was. Went through my old clothes a couple months ago. And I used to smoke cigarettes and marijuana, and a lot of old sweatpants with just burn holes all over them because I would nod off or pass out and drop it. And so it's just really dangerous stuff. I was putting myself in horrible situations. And so that time, I realized, it's time for some help. I had another buddy that I would get pills from and that we'd use together and stuff like that. Tell me about a local doctor. It was a pain clinic that helps with people wanting to come off of opiates and stuff. So, I had my wedding coming up. I didn't want to go there just yet. I wasn't fully ready to commit myself. I don't know, whatever it is. I think in the back of my head, I thought they'd send me away to treatment. I didn't know what to expect.
Right. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's scary to think what could happen.
Yeah. And I told my wife at this point, and so I was what you called in that email sober curious at this point, right? I'm wanting to change my life. I don't know the ways that I can. So, and I had a couple wake up moments leading up to that brought me into that doctor's office. My buddies threw a bachelor party down in Denver. Of course, traveling's a big deal for me at that point because I need I need this stuff or I'm not going to be any fun on this vacation. So I got a number of pills and headed down to Denver. I stayed one night in, I think it was Fort Morgan, Colorado. And of course the addict in me did all the pills that night and for whatever reason didn't save any for the rest of the trip. So, I don't know if it was the hotel room or what, but yeah, I went nuts. And drove to Denver the next day with withdrawals already kicking in. So I spent every moment I could in bed, except when they wanted to go out. And I just ruined a nice thing that all these people had done for me. And I still feel horrible to this day about it. I had cousins come in from California to meet me down there. Just a big wake-up call to say, like, wow, you put this in front of all these people that are trying to do something so nice for you.
Did your friends know? Were they aware of what was going on?
Not at the time. They knew something was wrong with me, but of course they know I'm not a big drinker, so I think they're thinking like he doesn't want to be out at the bars or stuff like that, and it wasn't even about that. It was totally just total withdrawals, and by that point the withdrawals are so bad I just can't focus on anything. It's just miserable. It's hell on earth, and so yeah, huge wake up call there. So getting married, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks later, I think. And so I still have this problem in my wedding days coming up. And so luckily the night before I did find some Suboxone the night before the wedding, was able to save that, be smart enough to save it. And, just had a blast at my wedding. Felt great and, just felt like my normal self for a day that's so important to my wife and my family and myself. And I'm so fortunate that I did not ruin that. So that was a big wake-up call. Both of those incidents were really my big wake-up calls. After these two incidents, I'd be ready to go and do whatever. We went on our honeymoon to Jamaica. Obviously, I'm not going to risk getting my wife in trouble and bringing anything there. So Jamaica was a little rough. I made it through the best I could. I still had some Suboxone in my system that lasted the best it could about halfway through. But I think we could have had a much better trip if she wasn't having to worry about if I'm going to get sick or not, and I'm not having to worry about it. So didn't ruin it by any means, but it could have been better. So I get back from Jamaica. We decide to take another trip to Colorado and get a little cabin in Estes Park. So we head up there, and I do the same thing again. I get pills, as I promised myself for the 100th time I wouldn't get them again. And we go up there, and I do them all the first night. So they're in this, I don't know what it was about the being in Estes Park with the altitude or what it was, but the withdrawals were just 10 times as bad. I couldn't throwing up every 10, 15 minutes, and really just ruined the whole trip for my wife and myself. And so that was it. That was my big wake-up call. Oh, actually, I'm leaving another wake-up call out. But at this point, I'm ready to see doctors. I'm ready to go and get help. So, and not to mention any places, because every place tried to help me. I just was just lacking accountability. So the first place I went to before this pain clinic that I had mentioned told me about Natraxolone, which is you can inject it or it's pill form. You take once a month, supposed to knock out cravings and all that. I think it's an injection now once a month, but it was pill form at that time. They strictly told me, do not take this if you have any opiates in your system, Suboxone. Yeah, I'm fine. Right. I take whatever I want. I've taken a lot worse stuff than this. And so I go home and I take it after probably taking pills and Suboxone within the previous week. And I went into pre-sip withdrawals, which I had no idea what they were at the time. But take withdrawals and times it by 1 million. Just obviously throwing up, but just like to where my jaw would lock up, my teeth would chatter. Just the worst experience I've ever been through in my life physically. And it took me, when you go through pre-sip withdrawals, it's something you should be in the ER for. It's not something you should do at home. But of course I stayed home and I was bedridden for 2 to 3 weeks, could hardly come out. Even when I came out of it, I wasn't fully out of it. It was tough. It was tough. So that was my final wake up call. Of course, me still not taking accountability for myself. I blame the doctors. So, they didn't tell me that it'd be like this, and they did. I even pulled out an old email where they strictly said, I think they even mentioned pre-sip withdrawals. So,
that's probably why they put it in writing, because there are plenty of people that say, you didn't tell me this is going to be so miserable.
Yeah. And I think I was more mad because they weren't willing to do Suboxone. They wanted to try this. And, so they were trying to help me, and I, just wasn't listening. And so I tried another place that I mentioned earlier that a buddy of mine had tried and had good experience with. And their whole motto is, yes, they will do the Suboxone, but they want some therapy with it. Medication-assisted therapy and or treatment, excuse me. So yeah, I got with a one-on-one individual counseling and started on the Suboxone with a doctor that still in contact to this day. She just saved my life. Put me on the right amount, listened to my story without judgment, put me on a good amount of Suboxone. And made sure, called this therapy place, make sure I was going. I had an ROI release to her. So from there on, I haven't had any hiccups, thank God. I weaned myself off of the Suboxone and still do counseling every now and then, probably not as much as I should, but with the job I do now, I think it's kind of overwhelming with going to counseling after just doing so many counseling sessions. So, so I found that, and thank God I did, because there were several levels I was never willing to cross during my addiction. I'm never gonna snort them or shoot them. Well, I end up starting to snort them. So if I wouldn't have found that person at that time, I think it could have really went off the deep end. And it is, I'm sure you see, people lose it all. People lose everything to this stuff. And thank God I found somebody in time that really heard me and was willing to help. So yeah, for then on, for the next couple of years, pretty smooth sailing, got my life back, still missing something, there's still this void there that I think is why I used in the first place, was to fill this void and this not having a purpose in my life. For whatever reason, I'm playing tag with my nieces one day and the grass is wet and I slip and I break both my leg and my ankle. Now this is a couple months after getting off opiates, and now I really need opiates, and I finally am taking accountability. And I told the doctor from the jump, I can't have any opiates. I don't care if it's tramadol, which is a very weak opiate. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And, several doctors tried to talk me out of it. So it's going to be a long road of pain ahead. And I didn't care. I was not willing to put that stuff in my body again. And, luckily I was still taking Suboxone at that time. So that did help with the pain a little bit. It did help take the edge off. So, I was fortunate there. At this point, I also didn't know I had a history of blood clots in my family. So breaking your legs, a huge sign that, if you're sitting dormant for long periods of time, you could develop blood clots. And I did, and I didn't know about them. I had what they call a saddle PE, 2 blood clots in both lungs, and then I had a blood clot in the heart. I passed out in my kitchen one day. My wife really had to shake me back to consciousness and had to argue with me for a little bit. Finally, I let her call the ambulance. Obviously, something's not right. Doctors there, I think, hadn't had a lot of experience maybe with this serious of a case of blood clots, and I kind of felt that from them. And luckily, my mom, who's retired now, worked at UNMC for 30 plus years and was a pretty high up position. So this is also during COVID. So
of course it was.
So
of course,
no beds, ICU's full. My mom, bless her, was able to pull some strings and get me a bed in the ICU. Right when I got to UNMC, everything started turning around. The OR team got me in and just acted like, this is nothing. I'll get you through this. And it was really uplifting. It was horrible at the same time. I had people every night dying to the right and left of me, coding. Very hellish experience. Even though it was turning around for the better, I still had to have an operation through my chest to knock out the blood clots. The one in the heart mysteriously disappeared. So I don't know where it went.
We'll take that miracle.
Yeah,
all right.
Right. So I don't have an explanation for it, but it went away. But once again, not having any pain medication from an operation through the chest was testing. So, I did a lot of thinking in the ICU. My sister, who's been a social care worker here in Omaha, she's now a professor at Clarkson University, but she wasn't a social care for a long time. Just made a recommendation. I think you do really well counseling people. You're good with people, and got me to thinking. And just like you said, it just clicked one night in the ICU. If I can help one person get the word out that, hey, you can go to here and get help and get off this stuff, then I think it'd be well worth my time. She let me know about a grant program going on at UNMC, which pretty much was the goal of it was, we got a lot of drug addicts and not enough drug counselors. We'll pay you to go and get your Playdac and Laydac. And so I got all signed up once through it, and they had already were full. But then it came around again, and I, got better, rehabbed my leg, and got into school. And I wish that was the end of the story, but unfortunately along the way, I thought I could start taking Xanax to deal with anxiety. I used to tell my family I'm microdosing Xanax. Obviously not doing it the way I should. Even I shouldn't be prescribed Xanax anyways, but I wasn't going the right way. Developed a little bit of habit with that. Recognized it very quickly this time. I'd say probably within 2 months or so. And yeah, I stopped taking it cold turkey, which is another withdrawal I would not wish on my worst enemy. The benzodiazepines it's not so much the opiates is more physical. The benzodiazepines is very mental and puts you in a very dark place without them. And I'd take the opiate withdrawal all day over benzo withdrawal any day. And so I had a little relapse or, a little bit of speed bump in my recovery, but that took me a couple weeks to get through and got off of that. And at that point I had made it through like half the schooling, but I had my other half starting in like a couple weeks. And I was so worried that I just wouldn't be in the right, if I was going to be feeling like I am now, I'm not going to be able to do this. Luckily I cleared it up and finished school, was on the dean's list, and which is something I've never been on in my life. Mm-hmm. I remember showing my parents and they had to double check to see it was my name. So So I think I going through all this, I think I found my calling. I found my purpose, and which helped me fill that void. And yeah, I just love what I do. People have a hard time, I don't often talk about my own experiences at work, just because it's not about me. It's not, but if somebody's really uncomfortable or we're not connecting the way it should, I'll let them know, you're in a place of no judgment. This is, 10-year opiate addict, so don't feel like there isn't anything you can tell me. It helps sometimes, but I choose not to play that card just because it's not about me. It's about the person in front of me. So yeah, it's been a great experience. I've been at my job a little over a year and a half at this point. Love groups. I love individuals. I really, paperwork's paperwork, but I love every part about it.
Yeah.
And I in ways I'm thankful I went through this, because I don't know if I'd be bouncing again from another job I don't like to another job I don't like and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Well, you found a way to really enhance your recovery and just continue to, because we learn a lot as therapists. We learn a lot from our clients and their stories and how we relate to it. Even though if we don't share it, that's sometimes that's not okay. But we do grow from working with them and seeing them grow too.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So what would you say is the most important thing for you in your recovery?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's important to keep doing what I'm doing. If I wasn't being paid to do this, I think I'd still go speak somewhere. I would go to lead a meeting or something, because as much as it is important for each one of the residents, it's important for my recovery as well. There are times that I'm addicted to the old chaos. I'm addicted to obviously the feeling of what opiates gave me, the numbing, just blocking everything out for hours at a time. I get, big triggered doing what I do I hear people's stories and it'll trigger me, but it also grounds me at the same time and lets me know, like, you're in the right spot, you're doing the right thing. You go back to this, it's all over. You lose all your options. And
it reminds you to be grateful.
Yes,
because at any moment that can pull you right back in you aren't really intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, coming from an addict's point of view, I can kind of pinpoint where people are at. And my main thing with, it's 30-day rehab. My main thing is to make them as comfortable as I can for the first week, because we never know when that aha moment's going to come for them. Right. And so my goal is to make them comfortable, make them feel like they can come to me for anything, how they're feeling, if they just need to talk, and just wait for that moment to click in. Now, of course, it doesn't. There's a big failure rate and doesn't always click in, but I tell them all the time, you relapse. A lot of people say relapse is part of recovery. It doesn't have to be, but I tell them all the time, learn from your pain and find your purpose, because that's what worked for me. So if it can help someone else, and I tell them, and what I mean by that is, if you relapse, okay, let's learn from that. What do we do different this time around? I'm sure you have frequent flyers, as we call them, that come through rehab 3 or 4 times, 5 times. I mean, let's find something different that we didn't do last time. So if you relapse, okay, we're over it. We're moving on. We're going to find out what didn't work. We're going to be open-minded. We're going to try new stuff, and then find your purpose. Your purpose is going to be huge, and it doesn't have to be a job or career. It's just something that fulfills you, right? And gives you the spirit to live on without these mood-altering substances that we become so accustomed to taking. So, it's a good spot I'm in right now. So,
well, congratulations on all of that.
Yeah,
and people are really lucky to have you in their recovery space as their counselor too. So thanks for all the work that you're doing. And thanks for being here to share the story. This is what it's all about.
Sure.
Is to hear from people who have been through it, to show that success, to give people hope if they're in the midst of that struggle, that they can do it too.
Yeah. And that's if you're out there and you're in Omaha, you're in a good city filled with a lot of resources. I've had to reach out to Lincoln and other cities in western Nebraska, South Dakota, and there's just not the resources. In Omaha, there's so many resources. So please tell somebody and get yourself into a spot where you need to be, because there's a lot of people in this community that do a lot of good work. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.